How many teenagers are voting for the first time in 2018? Or you could say 2020. What are their values? How many are children of Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green, or Libertarian parties? Which is a great question. I'm not sure if we'll be able to answer it in today's video, but it's one to ponder over. What are the values of the average 18-year-old or 16-year-old or anybody that might be voting for the first time in 2020? What is the trend? What is the paradigm that they are a part of? Of course, love him or hate him, Trump is arguably the most exciting and successful president of the United States yet. So what is his impact on the 2020 election and the younger voters that may be going more on optics, or maybe they have more information? They are, after all, the first generation born when the internet was already up and running. So they're already used to the flow of information coming from social media, coming from across the web, in forums, news, and then you have the entire Hollywood, the media apparatus, the news networks such as CNN and Fox News. You have all this, but where are young people getting their information? I have some ideas, but please do leave me a comment below if you have any of your own on this topic. We can talk it out and figure out what the kids are into. But Trump is a provocative, some would call him childish. Well, in terms of the way that he banters on Twitter, and he uses very persuasive, very catchy nicknames for his opponents. The way that he brings a sort of pro-wrestling Howard Stern show mentality to politics. Kind of a bit of a renegade. Now, whether you believe that his policies make him more of a renegade or more of just a neocon, for example, or whatever label you'd like to throw on some of his actions as they pertain to foreign policy or domestic policy, he is a very exciting character. He's not inside the box. Okay, he is somebody that acts with unpredictability as a major factor in his presentation. You really never know quite what he's going to do. Oh, you know how people are going to respond. That's pretty predictable now. You know, especially when you had the tweet recently, the president was talking about using the moon to get to Mars, and he said, well, it's part of the same thing. And of course people said, well, wait a second. The moon isn't part of Mars, you silly goof. So of course people will respond, and it's hard to tell if they're being ironic, if they understand the humor of what they look like over the course of this. When you think that the President of the United States doesn't know that the moon isn't part of Mars. Wow! Like, really? That's your first assumption when you see somebody maybe misspeak or turn a phrase not quite eloquently? You go, oh, it must mean something that makes absolutely no sense. Why? Well, because we kind of hate the guy. We have Trump derangement syndrome. We think that a crazy person can be the president of the United States of America, and everything hasn't fallen apart. It hasn't fallen apart because, hey, maybe that's a dog whistle. It's a dog whistle to people that because he's crazy, things don't fall apart. Doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't. So Trump is a very successful president in terms of domestic and foreign policy. There's definitely room for improvement, of course. I think most would agree on the right or the left. But, Trump hasn't destroyed the world. In fact, things are generally going better than they were before. But like I said, he's a character. He's an entertainer. His rallies are essentially stand-up comedy. About 70% stand-up comedy, and about 25 to 30% rote policy, speeches, political speech, the kind that somebody like Barack Obama would give. And give very well and very eloquently, showing just how qualified and professional that he is. Obama is one of the greatest orators I can think of, in fact, and he was our president, and I voted for him twice. Of course, I was younger, and I'm not sure I would have done the same thing given other choices. Of course, I would not have voted. Let me get this straight here for the viewers. I would not have voted for John McCain or Mitt Romney. As similar as Mitt Romney is to Barack Obama in terms of many of the policies and the general sort of neoliberal, warmongering kind of character, and of course, Romney Care basically became Obamacare. They have a lot of similarities between them. Still wouldn't have voted for Romney. So what makes an exciting, in this day and age where we clearly have an entertainer for a president and he's changed the game forever, like nobody in the future is going to be able to get by being boring. So who do we have? Well, let's start with Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe. And of course, he's your stroke-prone grandpa who is dynastic, has been around forever, and has never really been a contender as a presidential nominee before, as a candidate before. He's always fallen prey to other more exciting figures, and it's happened year after year. It happened against Obama, and of course Obama was gracious enough. I'm not sure what favors were needed to be fulfilled, but Biden was the choice, and Biden served his 2 terms as vice president, of course, so he has the experience, but does he really have the game? Does he have the Twitter game? And can he keep his hands off of women and children for, 5 seconds? I'm not sure. If you were to call this a wrestling match, sort of a, put him in the ring with Donald Trump, it's really difficult to look at these two guys and see Joe Biden come out on top. Because, you might disagree with Trump on policy, but in terms of, other than a couple of wedge issues, which Joe has been jumping back and forth on, and is as dicey as my speech over the past 10 seconds, on issues such as abortion. Now, Joe has a good idea for nuclear power, but we're not talking about policy here. We're talking about optics. We're talking about cool. What do the teenagers want? Like, what makes somebody worth voting for somebody that's younger? I'm not sure if Joe Biden quite has it. He's got all the oldness of Trump, because Trump himself is about 72 or 73 years old. He's got all the old man qualities. And of course, if you believe in the modern religion of social justice, he is a white male, which are 2, I guess, what you would call oppressor groups, because of their being the majority in many cases, or being well represented. Of course, what is white privilege? It's a great question. If you know what white privilege is, leave me a comment below with your thoughts and observations on that. But of course, that is if you are a believer in the dogma, if you are a disciple of the modern religion of social justice. I'm not sure if Joe Biden is really the kind of person that you'd want to give more power to. But I don't know how many of these younger folks, these teenagers, actually believe in that postmodern ideology. So, okay, so Joe Biden, all right, Joe Biden. We know who Joe Biden is. Then we have Kamala Harris, and hey, she's cool. She's super cool. I mean, she's so hip. She's heard Tupac songs, and Biggie songs from years, maybe almost a decade before they were released. So she's a time-traveling person with good music taste. She's so damn hip. She's too hip to quit. But other than that, I really don't know. I mean, what makes her really cool? Kamala Harris. Cool. Well, I'll say this. She's better than Dr. Apology himself, Beto O'Rourke. I mean, here's a guy that goes out of his way. He might as well say, "Don't have a cow, man," and try to really appeal. Get off the skateboard for a minute. Put away the magic dirt and say some things like "cowabunga," because that's what's cool, right? Cowabunga, dude. See, this video just got 3 more views and a whole lot more accolades because I said some phrases that are cool. The algorithm found this portion of the video. Hey, cowabunga, excellent, party on, dude. Okay, just catch those things I just said, and transmit them to the Beto O'Rourke campaign, where they are collecting cool. So Beta's pretty cool, I guess. At least I think he is, and I'm 35 years old. All right, so then there's Elizabeth Warren. Hey, are librarians cool? If you think librarians are cool, leave a comment below. I think they're pretty cool. I mean, they provide us some great educational opportunities. They help us at the library. They actually are trained in a number of areas, okay, to help people learn and to get more information faster. They are actually, people go to college to become librarians. Of course, I know her background isn't in being a librarian. It is being a lawyer. We, of course, need more lawyers in government. I definitely believe that. No. But she looks like a librarian, and we're talking about optics, okay? You're putting this, how would you describe Trump? With that yellow hair, and he's got the bright red tie. He just comes off as this kind of tough guy, okay, or at least stern. And then you have a librarian next to him, and you go, well, who would be better suited for sitting with Kim Jong-un and trying to end the North Korean conflict once and for all? I don't know. I'm not sure if that's what teenagers are thinking about, though. Excuse me. And then there's Bernie Sanders. And hey, what teenager can't relate to a 78-year-old socialist? I don't know. Now, Bernie does have youth appeal. Okay, so I want to say that Bernie has youth appeal. I think he might have had a bit more when he was the maverick, the fresh face in 2016, 2015. I did support Bernie Sanders. But in 2020, I don't know if he has the actual, the cool appeal, the teenager appeal. I think that they might gravitate more to somebody that is a bit younger, like an Andrew Yang. So Andrew Yang kind of takes a lot of the same top-down economic philosophy as Bernie Sanders. However, Andrew Yang is actually an entrepreneur, so that changes his experience, his skill stack just a bit. And Bernie definitely has about a almost 40-year age difference with Andrew Yang. So I do think that in a world where Andrew Yang had more name recognition, he would do well. I do expect Bernie to do better than Yang, unfortunately. I think Yang tends to have a lot of what Bernie brings to the table, minus those intrusive identity politics that Bernie brings out because he has to play the Democrat Party game. That is their constituency. That is their voting base. They are enraptured. They are excited by social justice, and identity politics, intersectionality. And Andrew Yang recently came out and he said, identity politics are not doing us any favors. Dividing people up doesn't do us any favors, putting them into groups and not judging them. If you don't judge them by their character, and you don't judge them by their merits and their flaws, and you look at them by their immutable characteristics, and you take that, judge them by that, put them into groups, and then determine from there who is the oppressor and who's being oppressed, who's the bully and who's the victim, I think Andrew Yang understands that may or may not be the best way forward, the best method for achieving social equity and all these different things that we are trying to develop systems to reach. Okay, we want to reach those goals with solid systems. And I like Yang a lot. I also like Tulsi Gabbard. She has a great anti-war stance and a lot of the same policies as Bernie, okay, and Warren. So there's a lot of crossover in terms of general policy ideas with Gabbard. But she also has a strong voice with free speech and for Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, okay, and she's against the Russiagate hoax, okay. She is a truth teller in that regard. She looks at it as a situation that the Democrats should move on from. They should get out of Russia. Russia. And Tulsi understands that. Now, Andrew Yang is cool because he had the Yang Gang meme. Okay, lots of people put the pink hat and asked, where is their $1,000? Where my 1,000? Where my 1,000? So there was this sort of subversive youth appeal. The 4chan folks, the Reddit folks, the guys and gals on Twitter and other social media platforms were spreading Yang memes, So in terms of memetics, Yang actually is pretty cool. Okay? He is a bit of a nerd, of course, and I'm one to talk. I'm uniquely qualified to spot a nerd. So definitely Yang had that bit of optic. And then, of course, Tulsi Gabbard, well, she's got her surfing and she's got her luau because she is from representing Hawaii. And, of course, she also was doing something recently, I think some kind of Hindu hymn or just, celebrating, she was singing a song. I can't remember the name of it. If you remember the name, leave a comment below, please. But Tulsi is definitely youthful. She's about 37 years old. And she doesn't really come off as very exciting. Neither does Yang, to be honest with you. None of these people really excite me, of course. Now, what does excite me is Cracked and Mad Magazine. Of course, I'm 35. So when I look at someone like Pete Buttigieg, or you could call him Alfred E. Newman, from Mad Magazine, I might like it, but I'm not sure if the teenagers of 2019 and 2020 actually read Mad Magazine. It's hard to imagine that. And then you go down the list of all the candidates that... Did I miss any of the important ones? Because the rest aren't very important. You have your Bill de Blasio. Oh, Bill de Blasio's cool. Not. Okay, next. You have Kirsten Gillibrand. Who's that? You have Julian Castro. Who is that? You have there's a Delaney, and you have Marianne Williamson, who is cool, and she's a little more, I think she at least kind of understands the entertainment persuasion that you're going to need to become president, but I'm not sure if she's quite exciting enough. She's no AOC in the attention-grabbing department as it were. So, I can't say that anybody is quite as exciting as Trump, for better or for worse. When I say, that he acts childish, people think that there are people out there that want things to be very ordered and very formal and very polite, and they're very used to the presence of Obama. They're used to that sort of professorial president. And they might not take to the cutthroat boardroom Manhattan socio-elite figure, sort of brash, speak off the cuff, say whatever he wants kind of mentality. Now, Obama says some cool, provocative things from time to time, but Trump, you hit him, he'll hit you back. Okay? He'll stand his ground. And I don't think many of these candidates, they generally just virtue signal, and they don't really offer much in terms of that personality. They try. I mean, Kirsten Gillibrand was sipping on some whiskey, which I thought was pretty cool. Definitely a step up from Elizabeth Warren's beer sipping. But I don't know. I'm not sure if cool is the right word to describe any of the candidates. That's just my opinion, of course. But I do wonder, I can't know, but I do wonder how a teenager would feel today.